Most people plant a fruit tree and then leave it to struggle on its own, but in nature, trees never grow alone. So today, I'm going to talk about building a fruit tree guild here in Zone 5A, Minnesota. I am Shawnee Grows, so let's hear from the Grow What You Eat crew. What do you plant around your fruit trees? Team Replay, ask your questions in the comments and let's have a conversation. What we try to accomplish when we're planning out this guild, this what are we going to plant near our fruit tree to help it? We're looking for a nitrogen fixer. We're going to break down plant examples as we go through this conversation. We're looking for some kind of accumulator. We hear about bioaccumulator. A pest repeller is beneficial. A pollinator plant, of course, we always need those. Something to cover the ground, a soil breaker, a biomass plant. I'm also going to be talking about common mistakes that happens when we're planting our guilds, our area around a fruit tree at the end. So what this could look like, and I'm going to show the two trees that we're going to guild here in a minute. A plant that fixes nitrogen, an example would be clover. A bioaccumulator would be um, comfrey. Now, Bocking 14 is what I have. It is where the seeds are sterile, so the only way to make it spread is to take a cutting, divide the crown up. Those are all ways to do that. It has a deep tap root and it pulls up minerals, and then you chop and drop the leaves, or you can make a liquid fertilizer out of it. Comfrey is really useful in the garden. The chives are what I use. They repel pests. I plant chives around every fruit tree. So I'll be able to cut some of those in half and divide them and plant them in this new spot that I'm trying to figure out. To attract pollinators, nasturtiums are an option. Something that can provide ground cover, thyme is an option. Something that increases water infiltration is buckwheat. Something that can break up compacted soil. We always hear about the daikon radish being used for that. Something that can provide biomass for green mulch. I don't know why this was a source that I'm going to link in the video in the description over on Shawnee Grows, but they said horseradish, and I would never plant horseradish because I don't have a use for it, right? We only grow what we eat. We want to consider providing food for us humans, and an example of that would be a honeyberry that you can plant around a fruit tree. Something that can provide medicine for the humans, like an elderberry, something that can provide food for the wildlife, like a high bush cranberry. So the two trees that I have look like this. One is a Montmorency sour cherry, and the other is a flavor top nectarine. So as you can see, there is a wood chip around the tree, but there's grass in between them. And there doesn't need to be grass there anymore. I'm saying this is a project that we're going to start this season. So I do need to mulch with wood chips, and you might want to know why. So I'll tell you, this helps build soil. The wood chips can support a mycorrhizal fungi network. They hold moisture, they suppress weeds, they prevent compaction from rain. So like I said before, I do have on the property the Bocking 14 comfrey. I can take divisions of the crown and just take a chunk and go plant it over there, right? I have chives. There's bulbing flowers that I can divide and plant. I've actually even started to order plants. I have a black currant, I believe is the one I chose. Jostaberry, serviceberry, and some common yarrow. I believe yarrow was on the bioaccumulator list. Let me know in the comments if that's correct. Now, I could plant buckwheat and fava beans to grow and chop it down to help feed the soil, to make organic matter, because I already have those seeds. Nasturtiums I wanted to plant in all of my little areas. Sometimes I say food forest or grocery row garden or a permaculture or a guild. There's probably different definitions for all those things, but I use them interchangeably, and maybe that's really bad. But nasturtiums can drop their seeds and come back the next year from that. And so I want to plant a bunch of nasturtiums everywhere. And I actually have a pack of daikon radish because I like to grow microgreens in the wintertime, and I have a bunch of radish for those. I do, past these two trees, going the other way, have a row of elderberries already. So I'm not going to put those in this guild. I am going to wood chip them, completely low, so there's no grass in between them. The elderberries I have are Adams, Johns, Nova, and York. I would love to get chamomile going. I think that'd be awesome because I could leave some at the end of the season to drop seeds and then they could come back on their own. Would be beautiful. So I might do that. This is kind of a brainstorming session. This is to see how is this going to look? What are the things that live here in my area of Minnesota? What are the things that I want to use or what do I want to plant for nature? So if you have any recommendations on things you've heard, let me know because this is sort of the planning period. I did start to order some plants, but I have room. I have plenty of room. Now, common mistakes that happen when we see a space like this is we're already overcrowded in year one because when you put a plant in and it's little, it's a youngin, right? It's not an adult, a full mature. It doesn't have its full footprint yet. So we plant everything too close. And then when everything starts to grow out, now we've forgotten that that's not going to work. They're going to crowd each other out. Sometimes we ignore the sunlight competition. So these trees right now don't have their leaves, but they will, and there's going to be shade lines, and they're still growing. They're not at their mature state. They've been there. This will be year 3. So that's something to consider when you're laying out how you're going to put your plants. The other thing that people make a mistake on is not chopping and dropping those biomass plants. Okay. So that comfrey, I can cut it twice in the year and it'll regrow like no problem. Like I didn't even do anything. Right. So take advantage of those things. So I do want to say that I have been a guest here at the Urban Gardener, and I was over at Holistic Heritage Homestead. We had a survival garden inspiration conversation here at the Urban Gardener. We had the joy of gardening featuring Julia Demacos, the gardening girl. That was super fun. There is a secret project starting at the garden property because if you don't know, I don't live at my garden. And so I have to travel there and there's projects happening and it's a secret at this time besides the gilding of the fruit trees. Here's what's been going on. We broke new ground. We built a new garden space. It's roughly 20 by 20. We planted 50 pounds of potatoes, 2 different kinds, one white, one red. In the space after that, because we said we're done for now, we'll plant potatoes again in June. We did fava beans or broad beans, the big ones. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if I did my timing right or the spacing right or anything. So it's a big experiment. We fertilized the garlic. We used blood meal. We harvested our first asparagus because they've been there for 3 years now. We planted 1 pound of shelling peas. So this is the second round. We planted just one little row in the first round in March just to see if we could get away with it. And it worked. Everybody grew. So that was super cool. We planted 150 long day onions because those are the type that we can grow here to have a successful harvest. And we have a goal to grow 50 pounds of carrots this year. How many carrots do I need to plant to get 50 pounds? You let me know. If you want more Shawnee grows, check out my video. I'm pushing my garden to the limit for more food than ever. And remember to grow what you eat and eat what you grow.